Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to crack the code on one of the most influential books ever written, How to Win Friends and Influence People. We're going to distill all that timeless wisdom into powerful tools you can start using, like the second this explainer is over.
Okay, let's start with the situation that I'm sure we've all been in. You're in a heated discussion, you've got all the facts on your side, you know you're right, but the other person just will not budge. It's so frustrating. But what if the problem isn't your argument at all? What if it's the very act of arguing that's failing you?
And that's the powerful, kind of counterintuitive insight right at the heart of Dale Carnegie's whole philosophy. Yeah, winning an argument might prove you're right, but it costs you something way more valuable, the other person's goodwill. I mean, think about it. When you wound someone's pride, you just make them resentful, and you completely lose any shot at getting them on your side.
All right, so let's dive into why this is so true. We're going to explore the first big technique for handling people, just realizing how totally pointless criticism really is. Now, this is a simple rule, but man, is it hard to follow in real life. Carnegie found this really profound truth about us as humans. Get this, 99 times out of 100, nobody criticizes themselves for anything. Doesn't matter how wrong they might be.
And to prove his point, Carnegie looked at some of the most famous criminals of his day. I mean, Al Capone, right? Public enemy number one. He saw himself as some kind of misunderstood public servant. Then there's Two Gun Crowley, a cop killer who literally wrote a letter while in a police siege claiming he had a weary but kind heart. The lesson here is so clear. Criticism just doesn't work. It doesn't change people. It just makes them double down and defend what they did.
And look, this isn't just about famous criminals. This applies to every single one of us. You know, the successful businessman John Wanamaker figured this out. He said criticism is just plain dangerous. Why? Because it wounds a person's pride, it tramples on their sense of importance, and it sparks a resentment that can stick around for years.
Okay, so if criticizing and arguing are off the table, what's left? What's the alternative? How do you actually influence people? Well, this brings us to the real secret sauce of the whole book.
So Carnegie, he borrowed from thinkers like John Dewey, and he argued that the deepest, most powerful urge we have as human beings is this, the desire to be important. And this isn't just about having a big ego. Nope, it's the fundamental drive that separates us from animals. It's what fuels, well, everything, all of civilization.
And this right here, this is the single most important mental shift you can possibly make. The only way to truly influence other people is to stop thinking about what you want and to start thinking about what do they want.
You know, Carnegie had this perfect analogy for this. He said, look, personally, I love strawberries and cream. But when he went fishing, he obviously didn't bait the hook with strawberries, right? He used what the fish wanted, worms. So why on earth, when we're fishing for people, do we keep trying to bait the hook with what we want?
Okay, so let's get practical. Let's see how this big idea breaks down into 3 simple rules you can start using today, like right now.
All right, rule number 1. This one is a straight-up replacement for that destructive habit of criticizing people.
So instead of looking for what's wrong, find something to appreciate. And you have to mean it. Be sincere. The famous industrialist Charles Schwab, who was one of the first guys to make $1 million a year salary, he said his greatest asset was his ability to get people excited. And how do you do it? Through appreciation and encouragement. Honest praise, that's the fuel for that desire to be important we were talking about.
Okay, on to rule number 2. This one is all about shifting your focus.
This might be the most famous line in the whole book, and for a really good reason. We spend so much of our energy trying to make ourselves look interesting, don't we? Well, Carnegie just flips that completely on its head. He says you can make more friends in 2 months by getting genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years of trying to get other people interested in you.
And finally, rule number 3. This one is maybe the simplest of all, but don't let that fool you. It's incredibly powerful.
Think about it. A person's name. It's the label of their entire identity. When you use it, you're saying, I see you, you are an individual, you matter to me. But forgetting it, or worse, getting it wrong, it sends the exact opposite message. That little bit of effort it takes to remember and use someone's name. It's one of the easiest and most powerful compliments you can ever give.
Now, Carnegie was no fool. He knew these ideas sound simple, but they are hard to master. And he always stressed that the goal was never just to read about these principles. The goal was to go out and actually live them. So he actually laid out a clear path for turning this knowledge into a real-life habit. Step 1, review these ideas all the time, constantly. Step 2, use them at every single opportunity you get. Seriously, make a game out of it. And step 3, track how you're doing. Ask yourself every week, okay, what mistakes did I make? Where did I get better? What did I learn? You basically turn your life into your own personal lab for human relations.
All right, finally, let's talk about the ultimate move. This is what Carnegie said was the best way to motivate people and get things done, especially when nothing else seems to work.
And it all starts with this number. See, Charles Schwab, that same executive we talked about before, he had this mill manager whose crew was just not hitting their numbers. They were constantly underperforming. And Schwab had tried everything. He tried persuading them, encouraging them, even threatening them. Nothing worked. So one day he walks in and tries something totally different.
He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He just calmly asked the day shift how many batches they'd made. 6, they said. So Schwab grabs a piece of chalk and writes a huge 6 on the factory floor. That's it. When the night shift came in, they saw the 6, asked what it meant, and then they got to work. The next morning, the day shift comes in and the 6 is gone. In its place is a giant 7. While the day shift saw that and were not about to be shown up, they worked like crazy and left a massive 10 on the floor that night. And just like that underperforming mill became the most productive one in the whole company.
So what happened there? Schwab didn't offer more money. There were no threats. He just tapped into something deep inside all of us, our natural love of competition. And not some greedy, cutthroat kind of competition, but that deeply human desire to be the best, to prove our worth, to win. All he did was throw down a challenge.
And that simple story right there, it just captures the entire heart of Carnegie's philosophy. It's all about that one fundamental shift in how you see things, moving from criticism to appreciation, from arguing to understanding, and from making demands to inspiring people. So, the question I want to leave you with is this. In your own life, who could you inspire? Not by criticizing them, but by throwing down a challenge.